Hey, did you know Long's Products is a family-owned janitorial supply with mops, brooms, trash bags, and they even have food service disposables, carry-out plates, and to-goes? Check us out.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jack, and welcome to the Let's Talk show here on UrbanCast. Tonight, we're joined by Louisiana State Representative Gabe Firment, District Number 22, who represents all of Grant Parish, parts of LaSalle, and a little portion of Natchitoches as well. Before I begin, I want to emphasize the importance of civic engagement. We've recently seen with the concerns raised here in Alexandria at the Sanctuary Apartments, that when residents speak out, they can bring attention to serious issues that might otherwise go unchecked. Civic engagement doesn't stop at the ballot box. It means staying informed, asking questions, and holding leaders accountable. That's what conversations like this is all about. As we speak with Representative Firment tonight, we want to invite everyone to engage in the program by commenting, asking you questions, liking the program, sharing the podcast so others in the community can join the conversation as well. And the cool thing about it is, even if you're not here with us tonight, we're doing it live and you can come back and watch it at a later time. Representative Firment, thank you for joining us tonight. To start, can you briefly introduce yourself to our audience and share what drives your work in the legislature, sir?
Sure, and thank you for having me on, Jack. And District 22 State Representative, like you mentioned already, that's all of Grant Parish. About half of LaSalle and most of the city of Natchitoches. Was elected in 2019, took office January 2020. So I'm in my 6th year now, currently serving as chairman of the House Insurance Committee. And, you know, I ran for office because I care about my community. I'm raising children and now grandchildren, and I just want them to have a good place to grow up. And I want them to be able to grow up and work and raise a family in Central Louisiana, just like I did. I don't think there's a better place in the world to raise a family, and I want to make it even better. And so really that's what motivated me to run, and it's been a great experience for me.
Okay, all right. Well, we're going to go ahead and jump directly into the questions tonight. We're going to start off with, this past legislative session, if you don't mind, and we talk about some of the things you got accomplished. One of the bills you authored, now Act 85, regulates how advertising and certain expenses factor into insurance rates. How do you see this impacting homeowners and drivers across your district, particularly those struggling with high insurance premiums?
Yeah, and so this is a really good bill. And one of the things I'm proud of is that as a body, we passed a really balanced package of insurance reform bills. It's not just tort reform. It's not just reform focused on the consumer, but it's balanced. And so House Bill 438 is really a consumer-oriented bill. And what it says is that insurance companies cannot use these silly Lemu the Emu type ads, these silly ads that have no educational value, no informative value. We're not going to let insurance companies use those types of advertisements to justify raising premiums. And so it's going to make a difference. Now, look, it may not be a huge difference in reducing premiums, but it's a piece of the puzzle, and it's going to prohibit insurance companies from justifying higher rates based on those non-informative advertisements. And I think the other thing that it's going to do is it's going to incentivize insurance companies when they do advertise to make sure that it's giving consumers information about what are the benefits of the policies you offer, and why why should we go with your company instead of another company? And so I think it will incentivize companies to be more intentional and more informative in their advertising.
Okay. All right. Cool. Act 368 extends a tax credit, for retaliatory taxes paid by certain domestic insurers. Why was this extension important for Louisiana insurance market, and what does it mean? Again, for those residents in Grand Parish and throughout the whole state of Louisiana, because let's face it, what you guys are working on impacts us all.
Yes, so this bill was very important to domestic insurance companies, for insurance companies operating in the state of Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
Every insurance company pays a premium tax on every policy across all lines of insurance. And here in Louisiana, we have really high premium taxes. And so what that does is when an insurance company based in Louisiana goes to another state to do business, that other state charges a retaliatory tax on every single insurance policy that company sells in the other state. And so it's retaliatory in the sense that because our premium taxes are so high, they're going to make up for it and charge that insurance company retaliatory taxes. And so what this credit does is it offsets the retaliatory taxes that domestic insurance companies pay out of state with a premium tax credit. And so by extending the sunset on this program, it gives our domestic insurance companies more confidence. It shows them that they're important to us, and it encourages them to build their footprint and to make investments in other states, which is economic development. We want insurance companies doing business here, but we also want them doing business in other states and hiring Louisiana employees at their home office to handle claims and underwriting and all the different positions that go along with operating an insurance company. So really it was a very important bill to our domestic Louisiana-based insurance companies.
Okay, all right. And Act 154, it addresses the regulations of certain hallucinogenic substances. Can you talk about what prompted this legislation and how it strengthens the public safety?
Yes, so that was House Bill 176, and I filed that bill when Sheriff Stephen McCain from Grant Parish came to me before the session, and he brought me body cam footage and a bag of what looked like candy that had been purchased in Ball and Pollock and surrounding communities, but it was not candy. It was gummies and candy bars and M&Ms infused with these chemical derivatives of psychedelic mushrooms. And we looked at the body cam footage where a young man suffered really severe reactions to consuming one of these candy bars infused with these dangerous hallucinogenic drugs. And so what this bill does is it makes it illegal to sell these products, to possess these products. And it was so obvious that these products were being marketed towards kids. They were being sold right here in our community. And so very proud of that bill and grateful to Sheriff McCain and to Governor Landry for signing this legislation. And I'm very confident it's going to save lives and protect our children.
All right. And there was another one, I'm not sure what the House bill, but it fell up under the Act 17, and it deals with those civil damages and claims by unauthorized aliens. Some see this as a complex and sensitive issue. What message do you have for constituents about the intent and potential impact of that legislation?
Yep. Jackie, breaking up only just a little bit, but I think you mentioned House Bill 436. That's that's my bill. That was part of the governor's insurance reform package. And
Mm-hmm.
what House Bill 436 does is it simply says if you're here in our country illegally and you get in an auto accident, you're not entitled to collect for things like mental anguish, anxiety, pain and suffering, lost wages, that you're not entitled to collect awards for those types of damages if you're an illegal alien. And so I think this bill will do a couple of things, and it's been signed by the governor.
Mm-hmm.
It should incentivize legal immigration, and it should also help reduce the number of frivolous claims and frivolous lawsuits that are filed. So, yeah, very important piece of our insurance reform package.
Collectively, quite a bit was dealt with under insurance this legislative session, and overall, do we actually expect, from a legislative standpoint and governance standpoint, are we realistically going to see some reduction in insurance premiums at some point in time?
Yeah, so this is what we know. And yeah, and so what we discovered, and I want to give credit to Speaker of the House, Philip DeVilliers, coming out of the regular session in 2024, I think he recognized that we had work left to do when it comes to automobile insurance reform. And so he put together a series of special committee meetings where the sole purpose was to identify what's driving the cost of automobile insurance. And we held 15 or 20 special committee meetings over a period of several months. And what we discovered is that here in Louisiana, we file twice as many bodily injury claims as the rest of the nation, and we litigate at 3 times the rate of the rest of the nation to resolve those disputed bodily injury claims. And so the only way that we will ever see a reduction in premium is by reducing the number of claims and reducing these excessive payouts that we see in Louisiana in comparison to the rest of the state. And so I think this package of bills that we've passed, really some historic reforms. When you look at House Bill 431, which moves us to a modified comparative fault system. Representative Jason DeWitt from Boyce passed House Bill 434, which increased the floor on our no pay, no play law. House Bill 450 by Representative Mellerin repeals something called the Housley presumption. So all of these bills, along with House Bill 436, they're going to serve in time to reduce the number of bodily injury claims and to reduce these excessive payouts that we're experiencing. So in time, I think we will see downward pressure on premiums. But look, I believe in the free market and I believe in competition. And the only way that we will ever see reduction in premiums, and we're seeing it now on property especially, is when you can go into your independent insurance agent's office or your State Farm agent, Allstate Shelter, Farm Bureau, and make them give you a competitive bid. And look, we passed a comprehensive package of property reform bills in 2024 designed to enhance competition and to encourage insurance companies to invest in our market. We're already seeing benefits of that. We're seeing new insurance companies come into the state. We've had several companies actually file for rate decreases. The state of Florida passed many of these same reforms over a period of 2 or 3 years. They're having tremendous success in Florida with rates going down. Homeowner rates so far this year are up about 1%, which I wish they weren't going up at all. But in comparison to what we've seen the past 3 or 4 years, I think that's a good indicator that we're heading in the right direction. And so it's so important. We've got to get out of this mentality that we're going to stick with our insurance company or with our agent who's our friend. they may be our friend, but we've got to shop around. We need to be getting quotes every single year on home and auto. And I think if you do that, especially in our part of the state, South Louisiana, things are still a little tight. But if you go out there in central Louisiana and shop around, I'm very confident you're going to get some competitive bids and probably lower your rates.
That's important there, Rep. The idea that you're making that recommendation because that wasn't the frequency. It was kind of like every X number of years you go out there and you look at what your rates are for the next upcoming year or whatever. You're recommending it every year to get out there and do it with house and auto type insurance. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, well, you broke up on me just a little bit, Jack. Say that one more time.
Oh, yeah. What I was saying was, you are recommending every year to do an evaluation on your insurance at this point?
Every year. Yeah, I would do it every year. And look, I was with the company for many, many years, and they went up about 40%. And I started shopping around. Actually got a quote and went with an established, well-known insurance company, and I'm paying less than I was before Hurricane Laura in 2020 for more coverage. And so I think if people will take the effort to get out there and shop around, they're going to find that there's some companies out there willing to insure them at a lower rate than what they're paying now.
Okay. That's one big takeaway from this meeting tonight, then. Shop around yearly.
Absolutely.
Okay. I think it might be a little delay, and now I got it. I'll just wait. Yeah.
Yeah, you're coming in loud and clear now.
Okay, cool. Beyond these bills, what are some of the other challenges you see facing your district up in, Grant, LaSalle, and Natchitoches?
Well, look, it's no secret that carbon capture and sequestration has become a big issue.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not aware of any permits that have been applied for in Grant, LaSalle, or Natchitoches, but I've had several constituents contact me. I've attended a public meeting in Pineville a couple of weeks ago, so it's something that I'm very focused on, and I know it's something that's very important to my constituents. And I've been very encouraged by the engagement we've seen from the public and from some of my colleagues here in Central Louisiana have taken really bold stances against seizing private property and taking people's land. And so, look, I don't think this issue is going away. And I think right now it's probably the most important issue to the people of District 22, probably across Central Louisiana.
And that's where my next question was going. So a good lead into it. Those discussions around carbon capture, and securing it under the ground, projects across Louisiana, and we're seeing local examples with the proposed sun gas renewables plant over at the old International Paper plant. The plan involves converting wood chips into methanol and then transporting that CO2 to injection sites or what have you. Many residents are concerned about how the transportation of the CO2 possibly through pipelines could raise eminent domain questions, like you said, for landowners. Others, have voiced worries about the potential dangers of CO2 leaks and ruptures, given recent incidents in other states. Specifically, what your perspective on these projects in the rural communities like Grant, LaSalle, and Natchitoches. How do you balance the potential economic development benefits from projects like sun gas renewals with protecting the landowner's rights and ensuring public safety?
Yes, well, look, first of all, let me say this. There's been an accusation, I guess, that if you stand up against carbon capture and sequestration, that somehow that you're opposed to oil and gas, or that even you're opposed to something that could be good for the timber industry, and that's just ludicrous. I would challenge anybody with oil and gas to find a single vote that I've made in my 6 years in the legislature against the oil and gas industry. Nobody has been more supportive than I have. But what stood out to me at the public meeting in Pineville a couple weeks ago, and look, there were some really smart people there. Look, we had professors from LSU and geologists and a lot of PhDs. And
yeah, it was a lot of doctors.
A lot of doctors there. Well, look, every presenter started out with this discussion of decarbonization and the idea that we needed to lower emissions to get to net zero by whatever date. Well, but there was nobody ever asked the question, or no one ever bothered to address kind of the elephant in the room, and that is that a goal worthy of pursuing? I mean, do we need to be worried about getting to net zero? Look, those guys are smarter than me, but I can remember even in elementary school hearing that about something called photosynthesis, and carbon is part of a very important process, and especially for plant life. And so I guess from my perspective, just the whole scheme is built on a false premise. And the idea that we would allow this global political agenda wrapped around climate change, that we would allow private land to be seized in the name of that globalist agenda is just ridiculous to me. And so I wish I would hear somebody with industry come out and just admit that this is what it's about. And there's no doubt that even the sun gas project is built on meeting these European carbon emission goals. And so do we really want to be participating in that whole political agenda? I'm uncomfortable with it. For me, there's nothing more important than private property rights. I think that's enshrined in our Declaration of Independence and in the Constitution. And I voted in support of every one of the bills that got out of committee into the House floor. I voted in support of every bill to protect private property. And so for me, that is non-negotiable. We've got to do whatever it takes to protect private property from eminent domain in the name of carbon capture and sequestration.
Okay. Do you believe the state has enough regulatory safeguards in place to protect residents, as these projects move forward, or are there areas where legislation still may need to be made?
Well, look, I think that's one of the concerns is we don't know. We really don't know what the risks are, and the proponents of CCS will tell you that we've been using it for years and enhanced oil recovery. It's safe. It's not a big deal. Well, and I'm no expert in this, but from what I can tell, the scale of these projects that are being proposed dwarfs anything we've seen anywhere in the world, really. I mean, proponents of this want to see Louisiana become really the global dumping ground for carbon. And so I think the unknown is very concerning. We don't know what the impacts could potentially be on aquifers and groundwater. There are suggestions that it could cause an increase in seismic activity. Of course, you got the concern with anytime you're transporting something through pipelines. You've got concerns with pipeline ruptures, and we've already seen that in places like Natchitoches, Mississippi, where people got really sick due to ruptured pipelines. And so, do we really want to be the guinea pig? And it almost feels to me like the thought is, let's do these experiments on those poor folks in rural Louisiana. If we mess up their water or their land, not really a big deal. Well, it's a big deal to me, and it's a big deal to the people I represent.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, before we get ready to go, Rep, do you think is there anything else that you'd like to bring up that's exciting or that we need to be on the lookout for in the next official legislative session and that kind of thing?
Well, I want to sort of go back to what you opened with, Jack, and that's you were encouraging people to be engaged and to be part of the process. And I can tell you that when people call their state senators and state reps and email, when they show up to public meetings, even tune in to Facebook Live, it makes a difference. It really makes a difference. And look, that's what it's all about. And for me, it's been very refreshing to see the public get excited and to get involved over the insurance discussion and in this carbon capture discussion. I think, new media outlets like yours have been great to bring transparency and accountability to the whole process. And look, for me, I just would say, pick up the phone and call your rep, call your senator, show up at the office, do whatever it takes to let your voice be heard.
Right. I appreciate you piggybacking. You giving me a pat on the back on that one, because I think it's really, it's something that's really important. For many years, it's been, we're going to take care of you, but okay, I'm okay with you taking care of me. I'm just going to come check. In the military, we used to say trust but verify, and so that verification part is getting civically involved, and that's really important.
Absolutely.
Rep, I really want to say we truly appreciate you taking the time to join us this evening and share your insights into these very important issues, facing us here in Louisiana. To our viewers, we want to thank you for tuning in tonight. Remember, your voice matters, whether it's raising concerns about your neighborhood or supporting legislation at the state level, strengthening our communities, etc. Keep commenting, sharing, and asking questions. We also want to thank our followers for, continued support, and recognize those guys who help us pay the bills to make sure that this can happen. Sadler's Towing, Long's Products, Legendary Kung Fu and Tai Chi. We also, want to a shout out to our class of 2025 sponsors, Attorney Tiffany Sanders, Sadler's Towing again, District Attorney Philip Terrell. We also want to say to everyone, just stay engaged, stay informed, and as always, stay involved in it all. Rep, there was one message that just popped in here. Let me just see what it says real quick. I think the people of Louisiana are beginning to pay attention to the CCS issue. Everyone needs to be involved. We need to make sure our voices are heard. Thank you, Gabe Firment, for talking. That's what the message was there, Rep.
That sounds good. Yeah.
All right, sounds good. So on that note, we're going to go ahead and say good evening to everyone. Rep, if you could just hang in there, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, did you know Long's Products is a family-owned janitorial supply with mops, brooms, trash bags, and they even have food service disposables, carry-out plates, and to-goes? Check us out.